Tyler mentioned people watching March Madness and the NBA playoffs, but people have also been tuned into the NFL draft, which was this past week. OSU didn't have any players drafted. OU only three players drafted, fewest since 2007. Mason, what I want to get from you is which undrafted players on your radar are you looking forward to possibly making a roster?
Well, I think the guy that every OU fan wants to see make a roster and have success in the NFL is Drake Stoops. He ends up signing with the LA Rams on Saturday after going undrafted, and really like the fit from the standpoint of obviously, LA has two really notable receivers in Cooper Cup and Puka Nakua that, maybe can teach Drake a few things about how to be a professional, obviously, with the track record of success that Cup has and the outstanding rookie season that Nakua had last year. But it's going to be tough for Drake to make a roster, as it is, for anybody that goes undrafted. I think you're looking at him as somebody that can, maybe make a play on special teams. He's going to have to, pay his dues for a few years as a gunner, or maybe like the, second or third, one of the backline options as a returner on punt or kickoff or something like that. He's really going to have to work and grind to get that opportunity, but if anybody will, it's him because obviously, right, he came from being a walk-on, a three-star recruit that, if not for his last name, probably would have had a lot more anonymity to being OU's, most productive receiver last year across the board. So feel confident in his ability. The other guy to watch, Andrew Rain, OU center who signed with the Carolina Panthers. If they were gonna have four guys drafted, he would have been that fourth guy. He was probably right on the edge there, and maybe he has an opportunity to give Bill Bedenbaugh another productive NFL offensive lineman after he's now had 14, I think 13 or 14 drafted in the past 10 years, which is pretty remarkable.
First of all, Mason, see, Andrew Rim was a ninth grade starter at Broken Arrow and was ragdolling, I mean, mashing guys in 6A1, right? So I guess the point of that is it shows you the greatness of the NFL athletes, right? If Andrew Rame is a fringe guy, because he was the most dominant offensive lineman I've seen in 30 whatever years at the Tulsa World at the high school level. But I guess my takeaway stat, instead of speculating on who might of the undrafted guys, or for that matter, drafted guys who might make a roster, my takeaway from the weekend is that this held up once again. But over the last 14 drafts, Mason, the average number of, now granted, some of those years, several of those years, like the SEC had more teams, right? During the 10-team period for the Big 12, whatever. But on the whole, this still speaks volumes to the difference between the Big 12 and the SEC with regard to talent. But the average over the last 14 drafts, fellas, has been that the SEC had 65 players drafted and the Big 12 25 players drafted. That's
Wow.
an average, and that is what OU's going into. And OU has got to step up its game with regard to signing guys on that level and developing them, and getting the results you want to get from them, and then shipping them to the league. And OU is not there yet, but that's the obvious mission now for Brent Venables and Bill Bedenbaugh and the rest of them.
Yeah, not a great weekend for Oklahoma State. Nobody winning the draft. A couple guys did get their chance, to sign some undrafted free agent deals. Afterwards, they'll get the chance to sort of go prove it and try to earn a roster spot, or at least a practice squad spot, which there's still some decent money to be made for these guys. If I had to pick two, Oklahoma State had several. I would probably start with defensive end Anthony Goodlow, well known in this area, Del City, Tulsa. He was kind of the most, just sort of among some of the NFL analysts. He was the Oklahoma State guy that some analysts thought was a priority signing after the draft. So at least for the analysts, they sort of thought he had something to prove going into this. The guy I would just take a stab on, though, would be running back Elijah Collins, only at Oklahoma State, one season, kind of limited with what he could do just because of an injury, but played for Michigan State before that and played pretty well there. Just his numbers, he didn't have a big role, but his numbers, like just in yards after contact, stuff like that, from a metric standpoint, he shined. So, maybe if Ollie's not there, or maybe if he doesn't have that injury, maybe Elijah Collins gets to kind of prove himself a little more, and this doesn't seem as crazy. So also the league may not want to draft running backs, but they need a lot of running backs because those guys get injured. So if a team's going to find an extra spot for a guy, running back's going to be one of the spots they're looking for some extra bodies. So I would say Oklahoma State fans can keep their fingers crossed for Elijah Collins. He has a chance.
I totally agree with the fact that NFL teams need to start prioritizing running backs a little bit more. I'm a Cowboys fan, and I may be looking at Ezekiel Elliott be running back 1 this year. So